Welcome to the monthly business meeting of the Athens-Clarke County Mayor and Commission here on Wednesday, November 6th, 2024. We're going to go ahead and have the clerk do a roll call as we begin.
Davenport.
Here.
Link.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
Wright.
Present.
Fisher.
Here.
Poole.
Here.
Culpepper.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Thornton.
Here.
Hamby.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Next formal activity is approval of minutes of meetings of Tuesday, October 1st, where there were two meetings, Tuesday, October 15th, when there were two meetings, and non-voting meetings of Tuesday, October 8th, and Tuesday, October 15th. And I know Commissioner Hamby would like to make a motion for reconsideration of an item.
Sure, and this would be the October Tuesday meeting. It is, I believe, I'm going to make a motion to reconsider. I believe it's item number 1 on the minutes. It's the Woodlawn residential parking permit. I've just got to clean something up.
All right, so there is a motion for reconsideration of the Woodlawn parking ordinance that we approved in October. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, I've got a second from Commissioner Taylor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, so this item will move to the back of our agenda, and so we'll see this. Can I now get a motion for approval of those minutes?
So moved.
All right, got a motion from Commissioner Thornton and a second from Commissioner Taylor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, we've got a couple items. I'm going to read our civility pledge, and then we have 3 presentations. We, of course, are gifted by having a great network of cities here in Georgia, more than 530 strong. And so Georgia Municipal Association has provided the civility pledge indicating that the way we govern ourselves is often as important as the positions we take, that our collective decisions will be better when differing views have had the opportunity to be fully vetted and considered, that all people have the right to be treated with respect, courtesy, and openness, that we value all input, and that we commit to conduct ourselves at all times with civility and courtesy to each other. All right, I'm going to move down next to the clerk. All right, so we have a fantastic crew of employees here in Athens-Clarke County, and some of those folks are over in our solid waste department. So I have 3 presentations tonight. The first is from the 2024 International Swana Rodeo Automated Side Loader winner. And so if I could have Lavaris Huff, solid waste, come on up. All right. Lars, good to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us tonight. All right. We work hard every day, but once in a while there's a little fun to be had. And so that's true when you join the Solid Waste Rodeo and you show what you can do outside of the mean streets of Athens, Georgia. So Lavaris Huff, who's a driver 2 in our org chart, won first place at the 2024 International Swana Rodeo, hosted by the Swana, Georgia chapter on Saturday, October 5th, 2024, down in Dublin, Georgia on I-16, Tony Drake's old stomping grounds. He won the automated side loader competition with over 250 in attendance. The rodeo is a collection truck and landfill equipment competition based on different course challenges along with time on the courses. So not only is he working hard, he's efficient too. So, all right. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. And there's more. All right. Jonathan Buck Sims here.
This is similar to the professional competition.
All right. It just gets better, my friends. Thank you for coming down. Appreciate it. All right, so on September 19th, 2024, at the Swana, Georgia Chapter Fall Conference on Jekyll Island, nice spot for a conference, Jonathan Buck Sims was awarded the Solid Waste Employee for the Year for 2024. Buck has been with the ACC Solid Waste Department for 22 years. He doesn't look much older than that. Buck is able to operate all collection division trucks and equipment, including front-end loader, rear loader, roll-off, sway car, and leaf and limb boom truck. Additionally, Jonathan has trained multiple drivers on how to drive and operate various collection division trucks and equipment. He even trained himself to operate the leaf and limb boom. Buck often volunteers to work overtime on the night shift, second shift, so that we can make sure all our leaf and limb customers have been serviced. Between August 20th, 2023 and August 17th, 2024, Buck worked 935 and a half hours of overtime. Were there that many hours in those months? The Buck's work unit is with one other driver, and they maintain 8 recycling drop-off sites, along with commercial trash and recycling customers that need roll-off service. This work unit's one of our most successful work units. Jonathan and his work partner have excellent teamwork and communication and need very little supervision. Beyond his work unit, Jonathan's a role model and leader in our department because of his sense of humor and good ideas, work ethic, integrity, and personality. One example is that in the fall of 2023 at the solid waste picnic, he solely planned the whole thing by himself. He seasoned and cooked fish for the entire staff, and it was one of the best picnics to date. Additionally, our spring 2024 solid waste picnic was provided with food that he cooked on his own birthday. Jonathan's years of dedication, positive attitude, and willingness to work overtime and experience is invaluable. And for that, he earned the Georgia Chapter Solid Waste Employee of the Year for this fine state of Georgia. All right. For that. All right, good job, man.
Thank
It's the Olympics next.
Yeah.
All right. And last, but not least, could I have Suki and Joe? You want to come on up?
Sandy. It should be Sandy and Joe.
Okay, Sandy and Joe.
Sandy, Sarah, Tom, and Joe.
All right.
And Joe.
And we have multiple folks coming up because the Athens-Clarke County Solid Waste Department, the whole department, received the Georgia Recycling Coalition's 2024 Spirit of Green Award for their creative reuse programs at the recent joint Georgia-SWANA, Georgia Recycling Coalition Conference in Jekyll on September 18th of this year. The ACC Creative Reuse Program has significantly impacted the community by redefining waste as potentially valuable resources. And so some key highlights include the Teacher Reuse Store, which was established in 2005, and since then has diverted over 500 tons of material from landfills, provided more than 5,000 teachers in this area with essential supplies at no cost. And that innovative program partners with local businesses, industries, and residents to recover reusable materials, including office supplies, furniture, and science equipment, helping teachers save on out-of-pocket expenses, something that I could relate to very much from my time in that world. So, we're proud of our department. We got great folks here working every day and using their noggins, working smarter, not harder.
Start your part of that. There you go. All right. 1, 2, 3.
All right, everybody give them a round of applause. Thank y'all. All right. Ready to go home now. All right, my friends, we will have several opportunities for public input this evening. There will be a public input opportunity on our consent agenda, which are items 1 through 6 currently on our agenda. There will be public hearing and deliberation on recommendations from the Planning Commission following that, and that is item number 7. There will then be public input on old and new business. Those are items 8 through 21. And then at the conclusion of the meeting, there will be public input on any item of public interest that is not on our agenda. Rules of public input are essentially the same for each time, with one little variation that I'll talk about when we get to planning and zoning. The opportunity provides for a 3-minute segment per resident of public input, and you see a light in front of Shemikia. It will turn green when a resident begins speaking. It will turn yellow when that resident has 30 seconds left in their time, and red when that 3 minutes has concluded, at which point I will thank you for your time with us tonight because we got to move on to somebody else. So before we get to public input for consent, is there any commissioner who would like to remove an item from the consent agenda this evening? Commissioner Fisher?
12 and 13.
Those are already on discussion. So anything 1 through 6?
All right, my bad.
1 through 6. All right, hearing none. Would any member of the public like to speak to any of those items on the consent agenda? Again, those are items 1 through 6. All right, consent agenda items are approved with a single vote. We have 3 ordinances, though, that the attorney has to read, items 1, 2, and 3.
Item 1, ordinance to amend FY 2025 annual operating and capital budget for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide grant funding if awarded to the police department from the U.S. Department of Justice through the 2024 Edward Byrne Moral Justice Assistance Grant, JAG, purchase of equipment, software, and other items to support the Real-Time Crime Center, RTCC, and for other purposes. Budget ordinance for agenda item number 2, an ordinance to amend the FY 2025 annual operating and capital budget for Athens-Clarke County so as to provide additional funding for magistrate court supplemental pay and for other purposes. Finally, budget ordinance for agenda item number 3, an ordinance to amend the FY 2025 annual operating and capital budget for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia so as to provide funding for operating expenses related to probate court and for other purposes.
All right, do I hear a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
All right, I've got a motion
Second.
from Commissioner Taylor, and I have a second from Commissioner Myers. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, we move on to item 7, which is our single item of planning and zoning recommendations coming from our Planning Commission. I mentioned earlier, there's a slight variation in the public input theme here because there is an opportunity for one proponent or one opponent to sign up for a 10-minute block of time, and Mr. David Ellison has signed up for that. And so we're going to have Mr. Ellison speak, and then we'll have open opportunity for any other folks who would like to speak to this item. So Mr. Ellison in the room? All right, Mr. Ellison, the 10 minutes is yours. Just formally introduce yourself and let us know your place of residence.
Yes, good evening, David Ellison, 2500 Danielsbridge Road, Athens, Georgia, here on behalf of the property owner. We're here today to ask for your approval for this PD. Brief history of this project. We began this process in late 2022 after my client purchased this property in July of 2022. We've gone through meeting with staff over the past 22 months, have appeared before the Planning Commission at least 3, perhaps 4 times, trying to sort through the various issues with your code of ordinances. Last month, staff recommended approval with conditions. Planning Commission recommended approval with conditions, and these are conditions that we accept. Neighbors showed up in favor of our application after they learned about our project, and Planning Commission commended us for revising all of our plans to address their feedback. We ask that you accept these recommendations and approve this application. We believe approval is appropriate because it's compatible with the comprehensive plan. It's compatible with the future land use map of general business. It's also compatible with the zoning map of commercial general. We are asking to rezone from a commercial general to a commercial general PD. We're not seeking to amend the underlying zoning. We're seeking only to provide some design flexibility that is solely driven by the multifamily use on the rear of the property. We can do a gas station by right. We would not be here today if we're only putting in a gas station. We're only here today because of the multifamily use in the back. If you look at the staff report, you see that we're keeping the same density, the same lot coverages, the same setbacks. The arborist says our project will meet all requirements of the Community Tree Management Ordinance. In fact, the arborist supports our waiver on the conservation canopy. Public Utilities confirms that water and sewer is available. Transportation, Public Works agrees with our traffic study and has approved our entrances. I believe there's a comment at the agenda setting session about how this would be a unique site, having a gas station commercial use with residential. One of the things we've been working through with staff over the past 22 months is separating the residential access from the commercial access to ensure their safety. And Transportation Public Works likes our plan. It satisfies their objective of having alignment with Ruth Street and also planning staff's objective of having connectivity with the rear parcel. And so we understand, so everything has been supportive of our application until we get to the agenda setting session and we understand there's objections to our proposed use as a gas station. Again, my client has the absolute right to use this property as a gas station. This is allowed by right in a CG zone, and we believe to be improper to deny us on this grounds. We do not believe you can deny us on the grounds of any sort of public health, safety, morality, or general welfare of the community when a gas station is a by right use under your code. We believe that would be unlawful. We understand there have been some concerns about environmental issues with tanks. Well, again, this body has decreed that gas stations are a permissible use, and this is an issue that's regulated by the state government. And we do not believe that this body can get around preemption clause by indirectly regulating this through zoning powers. We understand there's some objections about displacing a homeless camp on this property, and we believe this would be a textbook example of a taking. You know, this is a cost that should be borne to society as a whole, and not by my client, by bearing the cost of this homeless camp. We believe that we would be contributing to this problem by providing affordable housing for the community. Again, the only reason we're here today is because we're trying to add 260 beds in this corridor. We believe this is an example of your ordinances working. Now, just 3 or 4 years ago, before this inclusionary zoning ordinance was adopted, you would not be seeing this. This is an opportunity that my client saw to use your bonuses that y'all adopted to have affordable housing, while at the same time satisfying all of your objectives of your comprehensive plan. If you look at the comp plan, one of the goals is to increase the supply and variety of quality housing units at multiple price points. We're doing that. Increasing access to affordable housing. We're doing that. Infill development. We're doing that. Creating a commercial nodal development that allows for walkability with commercial uses and residential uses. So from a land use perspective, this checks all the boxes. This is what someone who is looking at your ordinances believes y'all want in your community. From a practical matter, however, I need to share that this gas station is driving the finances of this project. And my client is predominantly in this gas station commercial development industry. Does some multifamily, but predominantly in this industry. This gives him the financial security to know that he can go forward and have an anchor tenant here and then spend the money to develop the remainder of this site. This is a very difficult site. It's been vacant for decades for a reason. There's a Georgia Power transmission easement that takes about 2/3 of the frontage that really limits what you can do in the front of the site. There's about 5 or 6 different variations of grade over the course of the site. There's about a 30-foot drop from the front towards the rear of the site. All this site work is going to cost money, and the only way my client knows he can get that return is if he can get the gas station. That provides the security for him to take the risk to make all this come together. Again, we believe this is an example of what y'all wanted when y'all did the inclusionary zoning ordinance. We think this should be a positive thing for the community. I will note that this is part of the North Avenue Tax Allocation District, the TAD 5. And so this body has determined that this is a blighted or distressed area in order to qualify as a TAD. The purpose of this TAD was to provide capital investment in a historically underserved area, create new retail commercial development, create affordable housing, create new annual sales tax revenue. One of the purposes in y'all's tax allocation district, y'all adopted this, was highlighting the vacant parcels along North Avenue to encourage mixed-use developments. That's what we're doing. If you look at this from a land use policy from y'all's ordinances, from an economic development standpoint from y'all's ordinances, we do not understand the controversy is why this cannot be, why y'all did not like this. You know, from the standpoint of this TAD is once this gets, assuming this gets approved and provide this investment to the community, the value of to increase the tax base stays in this corridor. So this neighborhood is going to receive the direct benefit of this investment. The community as a whole is going to realize the benefit of the affordable housing, but these neighbors are going to realize the capital investment. That is a result of your land use and economic development policies. And so we ask that you please approve this. We believe it makes sense. We've been working with staff and the Planning Commission for 22 months. And this is the culmination of everything y'all have been working from a land use policy for years. It's the first time really someone's coming through who's not necessarily in the primary line of work of residential multifamily affordable housing, but he saw this as an opportunity. And the only way it makes work is if he gets the commercial use and the gas station on the front end, because quite frankly, it's a difficult site and it's gonna take a lot of money to get it done. So I request that you please approve our application and accept the recommendations from both staff and Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellison. Is there anyone else here tonight to speak to item number 7? All right, seeing none, go ahead and turn to Commissioner Link for a motion since it's in your district.
Yes. So I met with the developer at least twice while they were designing this project and offered some input, which they incorporated. The gas station is not my favorite thing in the world, but as Mr. Ellison explained, that revenue-producing property is what's enabling the affordable housing on this site. And yes, we designed our inclusionary zoning policy for a project exactly like this. We designed the North Avenue TAD for a project exactly like this. So I'm going to make a motion to approve.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Link. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, I've got a second from Commissioner Wright. All right.
Oh, you got me. Okay.
Commissioner Wright, any follow-up remarks?
No, I agree with what I've heard. I liked what I've heard to support it, with the conditions, I'm assuming, that have staff and the planning
Yes, with the
commission.
conditions.
Yep.
Commissioner Thornton?
No, I was just going to say, I think that the conversation that we had was to say, is the gas station the vehicle that can, and that was the question that we asked our attorney to address with you. So I guess, well, you've addressed it, that the gas station is the motivator for the housing.
Anyone else? Commissioner Poole?
Yeah, I appreciate the remarks shared by the applicant, but I'm still where I was at the agenda setting. I don't think we need a fourth gas station in a 1 mile stretch on that road immediately adjacent to another one. I think there's well-documented litany of reports out there that show the adverse health effects of people living near fueling stations, as well as the adverse environmental effects. So without belaboring the points made in the last meeting, I'm going to remain opposed to this.
Anyone else before I return to Commissioner Thornton? Commissioner Thornton?
It's not that I don't, or I've changed my position on the health factors that accompany gas stations, and it's definitely not my change of heart about the homeless. But when we draft legislation and policy, we got to follow our own policy. And I guess my thought is, maybe down the line, this is an education for us on things to look for when we do policy, but everything that was said was what this commission had agreed to, and especially the nuance of the inclusionary zoning. That was us. We didn't have the foresight or didn't think about, something different here and something different there because of like a gas station in health. But we cannot put something out there and just because there's one thing or something that's very important doesn't fit what we wrote. I think this is a lesson learned. We might need to go back and look at some stuff, but I'd rather do what we say we're going to do instead of having the court tell us what to do.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any other input? Commissioner Poole?
Thank you, Mayor. I definitely appreciate the remarks from my colleague on this, and I guess I would just respectfully ask that my colleagues join me in the request I've been making all year for us to stop allowing gas stations by right. We would not be in this situation if we had already done that. That is within our power, and it's still within our power. So if folks do, in fact, agree with the concerns that I mentioned in brief tonight and that we got into a lot more detail about a couple weeks ago, I would certainly ask this body to join me in changing that code, or requesting the mayor make that assignment.
Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, I'm going to support this because I think the gas station, could very well be built without the affordable housing. I am going to, and I agree with my colleague on my left talking about following the regulations we have. I'm assuming we are following all the regulations in our placement of a gas station that we have and all Georgia laws that are in effect here. But I will follow up and echo my colleague to the right request of the mayor that we revisit where our zoning ordinances with gas stations so that we can address this in a more nuanced way in a committee work.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner Link?
Yeah, I mean, I've repeatedly supported Commissioner Hull's desire to have us revisit gas station placement, possibly making it a special use so we can look at a list of criteria to determine where is appropriate. But this project is what's before us now. The developer could tomorrow start building a gas station there, and he would build it without the affordable housing. This is the neighborhood backing up to this property is extremely impacted by student housing. A project like this hopefully could remove some of the stress on that neighborhood, pulling some of those students out of the neighborhood and into these apartments. And it also has the bonus of affordable units that adhere to our inclusionary zoning policy. So, we get a couple wins out of there. There's a little bit of give and take in this project, and I am grateful that they did heed some of my input, regarding a shared use path along the side, connectivity to the adjacent affordable housing apartments that will be developed by the Athens Land Trust. Trees in the parking lot. I feel like they were very thoughtful in the design here for what it is. We don't all love these kind of mid-rise multiplexes, but we need the housing, and this is an appropriate location for it, and hopefully it will relieve some of the pressure on the neighborhoods.
All right, I'm going to have Attorney Drake read the ordinance, and then we'll do a roll call vote.
An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to rezoning 4 parcels of land comprising approximately 5.46 acres located at 0, 290, 310, and 322 North Avenue from CG Commercial General to CG PD Commercial General Plan Development and for other purposes.
Ms. Armstrong, could we begin with Commissioner Link?
Link,
Yes.
Taylor,
No.
Wright,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Poole,
No.
Culpepper,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Thornton,
Yes.
Hamby,
Yes.
Davenport.
Yes.
8 yes, 2 no.
All right, motion carries. All right, we now move on to public input on old and new business. And so on our agenda, those are items number 8 through item number 21. If folks are interested in speaking to old or new business, if you could line up the podium now, and we'll go ahead and have a 3-minute opportunity for everybody interested. Don't be shy. Mike's not going to bite you. Good evening.
Good
How are you?
evening. Doing well. I'm Dr. Tawana Smith-Maddox, born and raised on Pittard Road. I currently live at 295 Fairway Drive, and I stand today with North Athens and District 9 regarding agenda item number 11, the RAISE grant. That acronym means Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. And that's a very strong terminology there, and we are saddened by the way that this process has taken place. We oppose the original $25 million RAISE grant proposal, which includes a roundabout and closure of 2 lanes on North Avenue. Both of these situations will cause delays and unnecessary backups in traffic flow. We are asking that you support Commissioners Thornton and Taylor's commission-defined option, CDO, which includes no lane closure and an alternative to the roundabout established by Mr. Quazon Payne, an engineer in the area. We also oppose Agenda Item 14, franchising of residential collection. We believe it will be a direct hit to our small black trash hauling businesses, and we just want you to go back and revisit that, and if it isn't broken, please leave that alone. Last, we ask that you create a communication policy that eliminates these last-minute reactionary charrettes, poster presentations, and we want to see more add-ins, sit-down, educational, and two-way conversations so that staff understands our perceptions and thoughts and can take our needs into consideration when we have these large grants. There are millions of dollars being allotted to our historically black and working class neighborhoods, including agenda item number 10, the West Broad Project. And we really want to see more conversation and dialogue when these type of project comes our way, so that you hear from those of us and our lived experiences. The architect from the Raise Project is from Atlanta. We don't even know if the staff even lives in Athens or if they drive the streets, but they're making decisions that impact those of us who live in these areas. And so we do ask for better communication and that you approve this CDO. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maddox. Others speaking to old or new business tonight? And just give us your name and place of residence and the item to which you're speaking.
Teresa Williams, North Avenue, corridor, Monty Drive, Athens, Georgia. Been there 26 years on Monty Drive. So concerning the North Avenue corridor raised grant project. Concerning North Avenue, Dangersville Road, and surrounding community, the 4-lane has worked for us. Has worked for the neighborhood, has worked for the community for many years. We feel we have 4 lanes and we feel safe. We do not want to be congested, sitting in traffic because you people want to change our road to bring a roundabout and 2 lanes. We should not go back. We should be going up. We should not decrease from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. That just don't make sense. Make that make sense. Also, we prefer you can use that money to do other things, to inspect the bridge. We need a new bridge. When was the last time the bridge on Dangersville Road have been inspected? Okay, the 4-lane does not need correction. Let's find another way to use the money. Let's put a little small park in that community. We need lights on Freeman Drive. It's so dark when you turn off, go up North Avenue to Dangersville Road and turn on Freeman. It's dark. It's just so dark you can't even see. We need to add lights. We need lights in our neighborhood, which is Greenmont subdivision. And in that subdivision, you have Money Drive, you have Kenwood, you have Mercer, you have all these different areas. So we need lights in our community that we do not have. You have people paying Georgia Power for their extra lights so they can see and feel safe. More lights, more lights, more lights. Okay. And also, the neighborhood just don't need a back lane. You go down Prince Avenue, I go down and use Prince Avenue every day for work. I never see a bike on the lane, in the back lane. We just don't need it. We just need our community, our roads, our lane to stay 4 lanes. And thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Other folks here to speak to either old or new business tonight? You can line up at the podium. Good evening.
Paul Bunce, 250 Kearney Lake Road, Winterville. I've been a resident of Clarke County since I was 5 years old, about 1950. We are not happy with being assigned a trash collection agent. We're happy with our current carrier, who happens to be curbside. We've heard some unhappy things about other vendors, and we don't want one of those assigned to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bunce. Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing? My name is Xavier Walker. I'm here to express my concerns about the North Avenue project. I'm going to start by saying I respect everyone that has worked on this project, but we have to remember why the raise grant was approved in the first place. From my understanding, the reason the raise grant was approved in the first place was to give socially economic disadvantaged people a safe pathway into Athens-Clarke County, be it safe vehicle, safe pedestrian, and safe bike paths into Athens-Clarke County. That's why the government approved the application. They did not approve the application based on a linear park down North Avenue. As a matter of fact, the details about a linear park being a part of this project was never disclosed As a matter of fact, the details about the linear park being a part of this project was never disclosed to the government and was never included in the application process. Had the details about a linear park been included in the application process, this project certainly would have been denied, and the funds would not have been approved. Again, it was never about creating a linear park down North Avenue. We must not forget that. No one should be allowed to take funds from the government that were permitted and approved based on what was submitted in the application, only to use those same funds to accomplish a different project that was not a part of the application, nor the intended use of the government funds. It's one thing to be creative, but it's not done this way. What has happened, the purpose for the funds were known from the very beginning. There was no confusion. You have a bait and switch. One purpose and concept in application, and a different concept in the rendering project concept. This is expected for the community to accept and for you all to vote on. It appears that the original plan for this project has been abandoned. How is it expected for you all to vote and approve a project when you don't even have the final version of the project to review? This is not the final version of the project. We are 2 years into this grant period, and we, the community, are just now seeing a different set of plans, drawings for this project a few weeks ago. If you vote yes, you're voting to give them a blank canvas to do whatever they would like after you vote. With your vote to approve this project, each of you will be writing a blank power of attorney. This is a rush approach, getting something submitted and approved before the deadline, and we will figure the rest of the plan out later. Give the people, the community, less time to be involved. It appears that they're allowing this money to guide their better judgment, and they are rushing to use it at the expense of the community needs and wants. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Other folks here to speak to any item of old or new business? Again, those are items 8 through 21 on our agenda. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Val Williams. I live at 443 3rd Street, Athens, Georgia. I'm under District 2. But North Avenue is close to me because I live right off of 1st Street. And I have lived at 443 3rd Street for 44 years. I have lived right across the street from there for, in a few weeks, will be 70 years. So I've been in that neighborhood all my life. I remember when North Avenue was called Madison Avenue, and it was 2 lanes. So if it goes from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, and it's a lot of traffic, why would you want to go back to 3 lanes? And I heard at the meeting that we went to a few weeks ago that the problem stemmed some from pedestrians getting hit on North Avenue. Those lanes are not going to do anything but make probably more people get hit. We don't need a bike lane because, like she was saying with Prince Avenue, you might see one bike on Prince Avenue in 30 minutes, but you see 300 cars. So the problem is not for a bike lane. The problem is the traffic flow and a reason to make the traffic flow even better than it does. Then at Prince Avenue, you got the turn lane right there to turn left. I mean, I don't know who thought of that, because if the outer lane was there, the traffic could keep going. But back to North Avenue, It don't need to be a different lane. It needs to stay like it is. The problem with North Avenue with people getting ran over is I live there. When I leave my house, if I'm going to town, I got to either go Broad Street or I got to go North Avenue. I choose to go North Avenue because Broad Street, the students got their earplugs in and they walk out in the street. So therefore, we go North Avenue. The problem with North Avenue is the homeless situation. Nobody is addressing the homeless situation on North Avenue. One thing you could do that just makes sense, I know the homeless people, they do a lot of littering, but they don't have anywhere to go. Right there at Bigger Visions, a trash can about this big, they fill it up in 30 minutes. You at least could put more trash cans on North Avenue, so maybe these homeless people would have somewhere to put the trash. I know they're a nuisance to everybody, but it is what it is. The homeless situation in Athens is terrible. And plus the fact mental health is included in that. Mental health is very serious. Everybody that's walking up and down North Avenue talking to themselves is not mentally ill because of drugs. Some of it is they were born or whatever reasons, but it's all not drugs. People care more about dogs. They got a dog commercial singing Amazing Grace. You don't see any commercials on TV about the homeless situation. North Avenue has a bad homeless situation going on. The people that don't live there need to try to see if you can check it out.
Thank you, Ms.
so much.
Williams. Is there anyone else here to speak to any item of old or new business tonight? Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Brenda Kitchens. I don't live in Clarke County, but I have a rental property right up North Avenue in Camelot Drive. And I was not happy to see that item 14, the Legislative Committee report, franchising of residential collection. It appears that the trash collection that we have now is working fine. It's efficient, it's affordable. It allows people who can't afford to have trash pickup to truck their own trash to the dump. I don't want to put anybody out of a job by franchising one particular business to do all of these collections. We've got people employed in 3 or 4, as it's pointed out previously, 3 or 4 different areas where they pick up. So I would kind of like to object to franchising that. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Ms. Kitchens. Is there anyone else here to speak to any item of old or new business before we go ahead and move to commission discussion? Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Darryl McManus. I am a member of the TSPLOST committee for the last TSPLOST committee that came on for North Avenue. I live on North Avenue, and during that phase of our committee meeting, it was money set aside for the North Avenue project. Where did that money go? That's my first question. My second question, who designed that without the approval of the people? Who made that decision? I want to know that. That's the most definite, because you did not bring that back to the people. That's number 3. Why is the council and the mayor commission making decisions without the approval of the people, without any referendum, without any type of notice to the people, and turn around and make a 3-lane lane when you got 50 different daggone apartment complexes coming up there off of North Avenue and the Loop and the Hall Road? Do you see the traffic that come through there at 7 o'clock in the morning? Do you see the traffic coming through there at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon when it's stuck?
He sounds a little angry.
See, this is the problem. You don't listen to your people. The people is about to take back their country, this city. You understand that, right? Do y'all understand that? I want you to know that. Your job is to work for us, not for us to work for you. And it needs to be properly and done correctly. If you don't feel as though that you're going to do things properly for the city of of Athens, you need to leave. You need to get off the commission. You need to get off any committee that's on here. We're not doing this no more. Do y'all understand me and got that correctly right here? It's the new people in town now, and we're not playing these games. You want to take 70% of the TSPLOST and give it to you instead of giving it back to the people. The 100% of TSPLOST is supposed to be done by the people of TSPLOST. You have no control over this. You either make the referendum and you make a decision, not a decision on your own mental without the cooperation of the people. You're doing too much. You're doing exactly too much. And yes, it's new people around here now. And I'm one of them. So you better get yourself together. This is ridiculous. All you ought to do is just do what you want to do. This is my money, my taxes, their money, their taxes, your money and your taxes, and you're still doing bull crap. It's time to change. Now it's up to you if you want to be commissioner, because we don't have to wait until
Thank you,
it's
Mr.
the election.
McManus.
No.
Appreciate
You
it.
don't have to wait till election time to throw you up out of here.
Thank you for coming tonight.
You're going to see a lot more of me.
Is there anyone else here to speak to us about any item of old or new business? Again, those are 8 through 22. All right, we're going to come to commission action. We're going to begin with item 8.
Sorry, Kelly. Mayor. Sorry. Lauren Blaze, 140 Inglewood Avenue. I'm here tonight to speak on item 14, the North Avenue raise grant, which y'all are voting on, and you've heard from several people who live along the corridor tonight. So I am on the Athens in Motion Commission, which exists, appointed by you all to help implement the Bike and Pedestrian Master Plan, really just trying to provide options for people who don't own vehicles. So I'm thinking about the history of this project and like why it is here before us tonight. And that history really begins with urban renewal, which the folks who came up here remember. They remember when the road was Madison Avenue, when it was just a 2-lane road. And then along comes the state and, without talking to any of the residents, builds this massive 5-lane road, essentially splitting the corridor into and making it very difficult for people to cross, basically with the idea that eventually there's going to be between 35 and 45,000 cars through here a day. So that's why North Avenue was widened the way it was. And that actually has not materialized. So I talked to staff and was like, well, I see, there's some lane reductions we're proposing. Like, what is behind all that? Can we really accommodate that with Athens growing, I think, by another 30 or 40,000 people in 2045? And they said, well, there's currently like 13,000 car trips per day along North Avenue. And if we, double that and everything and look at our projections, we think that there's room to do some lane reductions and make it safer for people who live along the corridor to walk. So this whole project was meant to really be for the people who live along the corridor, and not just people who are driving through and passing through, not just for people leaving UGA games or the Classics Center, even with it expands. It was meant to try and accommodate that. There have been 452 crashes along the corridor from 2018 to 2023. 32% of those were injury or fatality crashes. One of the reasons we finally got this $25 million grant from the federal government, because we applied for 4 years to get it, and one of the reasons that we finally did is very sad. Another person lost their life on this corridor. They were walking on the sidewalk, so it's not like they were in the road or anything like that. They were on the sidewalk.
Ms. Blaze, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So thank you all. Yes.
Is there anyone else here to speak to any item of old or new business before we move to commission action? Evening.
Good evening. Quazon Payne, I reside at 145 Walker Drive. I am a civil engineer operating Payne Construction Group out of Athens, and thank you for that. Now I know where it came from. Before I even get started, I want to thank two people for making this process great. I am responsible for the second alternative proposal, which you have as a CDO. I want to thank our interim manager, Nikki, for putting myself and staff together to work on the design alternate. And I want to thank Judd for meeting with me to make sure that we had the wording just right. It's things like that that really make Athens great. I don't want to regurgitate what has already been said tonight, but I do want to point out 5 red flags that we should know about going forward. The first red flag, when I was directed to meet with, there are 2 red flags for staff, 2 for the, I'll call it the ACC design, and 1 red flag for the PCG, Payne Construction Group design. The first red flag I want to talk about is there is no survey that has been done on North Avenue. The first thing that you need to do when you are designing anything or thinking about changing anything is to find out what the existing conditions are. If you look at any set of blueprints, the first page is always the existing condition, taking from the existing survey. I took a crew out and measured the actual face of curb to face of curb and found that it was 63 feet face of curb to face of curb, and that's how I was able to put together the alternate design. In 63 feet, we can get 5 lanes at 11 feet. That gives us 8 feet to maneuver with additional sidewalk and additional bike path. I also measured the right-of-way markers that are out there because there wasn't, like I said, no existing survey. But the right-of-way markers are out there on the east side of North Avenue. And those right-of-way markers show that there's 8 feet from face of curb to the right-of-way markers. So if we take that distance, we see we do have some room to work to add bike paths and sidewalks in our design. The second red flag, we were in a Zoom meeting talking about the RAISE grant, and DOT, Nikki, I think you were having difficulties, but you were on and off. Judd was on the call as well. And I asked the question, I said, I know that time is a big issue and we're under constraints with time, but if we are allowed an extension, are we going to go back and see if we can accommodate the first and original design where we do have the 12-foot wide and all of the lanes? And the response from staff, which was alarming, is no. That just was a red flag to me. Why wouldn't you want the perfect design? All right. Third red flag, and this is with the ACC design. There are some designs that you look at.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. If you want to submit the rest of them in writing, we can go ahead and accept that.
We good.
All right.
We good. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else here to speak to any item of old or new business?
Mayor Gertz, can I make the motion to give Mr. Payne 3 more minutes? Is that a thing?
We've got standard rules of public input, so 3 minutes on
Well,
old
he
and new
did
business.
the survey that goes along with the CDO.
And so during discussion of the item, if you want to call to ask some specific questions, that'd probably be kind of a good way to introduce some other points that.
I think we're good. I've spoken on the phone with 90% of the people here and answered all the questions in the back. I think we're good. Okay, thank you.
Well, don't go, and just in case there is a question.
I'll be here.
Any input on old or new business before we move to commission action? All right, so beginning with item 8, this is the Classic Center Arena sign design approval associated with the sign grant that was received for that. So I'd entertain a motion at this point.
I'll make a motion to approve what's in the packet and to also have assigned to committee for us to study signs on the tops of buildings so that we can see if there's going to be some consistency
All right,
for others.
got a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Got a second from Commissioner Taylor. Any further discussion, Commissioner Wright?
No, I just want to make sure that if we do this, we can study for others to also have 2 signs up high.
Commissioner Taylor, any other observations?
Ready to vote.
Any other input? All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, item 9 is the bus stop transfer facility on Lexington Highway. I know Commissioner Davenport, you wanted to make a motion regarding this. I'll turn it to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a motion to hold until our December meeting. Nothing nefarious, just, I do have a meeting with staff this Friday, if any of my colleagues would like to meet at City Hall, Friday at 1 o'clock. Just to look at all the options to make sure that we're making the best, and I trust staff, that we're making the best decision when it comes to a bus transfer station within a park.
All right, so motion to hold, is there a second?
Second.
All right, I've got a second from Commissioner Myers. Any discussion? Commissioner Houle?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I mean, holding it a month doesn't seem like the end of the world. I'm just curious if either the motioner or the seconder could help me understand what we're hoping to learn that wasn't covered in the staff report. Because they kind of went through a lot of the points that I heard raised in our previous discussions on this.
So I would like to dive more into the location that is preferred and also to look at adjacent properties within the park. So like, there's a long entranceway. Could instead of putting the transfer station right at the back of the park where the skate park, could we put it at the entrance of the Southeast Clarke Park to analyze like why was that not preferred and what kind of hindrances does that pose as well? Southeast Clarke Park is a huge park, and there are other locations that may be feasible as well. Just to making sure that trusting staff, make sure that all that everything was looked at properly.
All in favor of the hold, please say aye. Aye. All right, so continue discussion of that in December. All right, item 10 is TSPLOST 2023 project that also involves a partnership with GDOT on West Broad Street and Atlanta Highway from Hodgson Drive to Epps Bridge Road. Entertain a motion. Commissioner Houle?
I'll make a motion to approve the commission-defined option offered by myself and Commissioners Lincoln Hamby.
I second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Houle. I've got a second from Commissioner Link. Commissioner Houle, any remarks?
I guess I'm happy to answer questions if people have them, but basically it's moving forward, recognizing that, you know, this is really just us providing recommendations, requests, maybe even to GDOT. It's their project. And so this would just ensure that we prioritize trees along the corridor, both to make the sidewalks that are there safer and also to provide shade so it's a facility people can actually use. And then also, which I know an element that was important to Commissioners Lincoln Hamby, to explore continuing to allow that left turn for westbound traffic into Magnolia Street. I think Commissioner Culpepper might have something he wanted to add to that I was made aware of today, and I'm amenable to.
All right, I've got Commissioner Link and then Commissioner Culpepper.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize that this is the early concept phase of this project, and GDOT will have multiple public input sessions. You know, we will be reaching out to the public to get them there. This is just a concept, kind of like pulling the trigger to let GDOT move forward with some additional study and outreach. And, you know, I just want to assure that the neighborhoods along that inner part of the corridor have access to both sides of West Broad Street for traveling, because it is an important connectivity route between, say, Normaltown and Rock Springs and Baxter Street. And I believe that the folks who've been living in those neighborhoods forever should continue that connectivity to their neighbors across West Broad and not have to go all the way up to Alps Road and down what is a really dangerous, crash-riddled route to get to Clarke Middle School or the library. So I believe maintaining that access through Magnolia Street will still allow that to happen while enabling the median through most of the corridor and hopefully allowing some safety. And we will certainly have multiple public input sessions on this. GDOT, when we did the public input for the West Broad roundabout that's coming, which is why this is so essential, is to get traffic down to a proper speed as it approaches that roundabout. There were multiple public input sessions. Same thing with the Chase Street roundabouts. We have multiple public input sessions on that. So we'll have roundabouts coming to Chase Street as well. So I want everybody to, keep their ears perked up, and we'll try and get the word out as much as we can when those public input sessions happen. And this is just the concept phase to move forward with that whole process.
Commissioner Culpepper.
Yes, I'd like to, I've talked to Commissioner Hool about this, add language about where the cafe racer is. They're looking at closing that exit, that entrance, and to add language to make it a right in, right out, where the cafe racer is.
So if the motioner is amenable, we'll request that GDOT analyze a right in, right out in addition to the components of the CDO as written.
Yeah, I'm happy to add that third
Okay.
point.
Commissioner
Okay,
Devlin?
just to clarify with Commissioner Culpepper, the added language would be closing that intersection, the traffic light at Cafe Racer and the bank, and just doing one of the medians right in, right out, asking GDOT to.
This is the driveway, as I understand it, where there's not a signalized intersection. There is a signalized intersection about 50 feet up, the one that kind of enters what I think of as the old Kroger in the whole site. So this is near there, but just east of there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other input? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right. I'm going to move on to item 11. This is the raise grant. Do I hear a motion from any member of the body?
I'll move to approve.
Move to approve the staff.
Well, actually, no, I won't. I'll let the CDO, I rescind that.
All right. So no
Well, in
motion?
that case, I'll make a motion that we approve the CDO.
All
if
right,
nobody-
motion from Commissioner Thornton for the CDO. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, I've got a second from Commissioner Wright. Commissioner Thornton, any remarks?
Believe it or not, no.
Commissioner Wright?
Well, that's a sure sign that she has really worked hard on this topic, and I do appreciate the input from the community. The part that I wanted to add as a consideration with this would be if the lanes are not all the same width, and maybe Mr. Payne could speak to that. I was thinking in the drawing that was in there for the option where the bike and sidewalk are both raised, there were 10-foot lanes and 11-foot, and I think that it would be safer if the narrower 10-foot lanes are adjacent to the turning lane versus the curb. I just think that would, I think that this is the concept to move forward. I don't think it's that picky, and we'll see it again as it develops. Correct?
And process-wise, Manager Jones, we'll see this again when we're in kind of engineered stage, is that correct?
That's correct. So tonight really is as I've explained it to several of you, is the big bite at the apple. There will be a smaller bite at the apple 5 months from now, if you will, and that smaller bite at the apple, the commission would be able to do things such as add trees, streetlights.
Patrick, trees.
Put possibly a pedestrian refuge, because at that point in time, the design is going to be underway. So tonight is giving us the signal to move forward with a pretty rock-solid concept.
So given that notion of the big bite at the apple, kind of in the interest of Commissioner Wright's desire to have the narrower lanes adjacent to the turning movements, is that something we need embedded in a motion, or is that something staff can just take as?
I'm not an engineer, so I would defer to the engineers on that, but we will keep that at the front of our minds as we begin to design this. I think the lane widths is something that I would consider a small bite at the apple, so I think we would have another opportunity to look at that.
So we'll see that piece again.
Mr. Payne.
Was there some clarification? This is the time we'll get through.
Mr. Payne, Commission has a question of you.
To answer your question, in my meeting with staff, 10-foot lanes beside the bike path was what we came up with. So it's 10, 11, 11, 11, and 10.
Yeah,
Okay? That gives you 53 feet in the existing 63 feet.
okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So the narrower
We'll
lanes
talk
are.
about that.
As he said, this is all preliminary. You
Yeah.
have time to change it.
Right, this is the point of how many lanes are we talking about? Okay.
Commissioner Link?
So, in this conceptual phase, we're talking about the need for pedestrian crossings. which are not allowed on high-speed corridors. Mid-block crossings are not allowed on high-speed corridors because they're not safe. It would, we definitely need islands. And as part of this 5-lane concept, could that also include medians in areas of the 5 lanes where you don't have, to prevent these cars coming at each other? I feel like this concept, that 5th lane could be eliminated at various stretches along the corridor to allow for planted medians, which might also achieve some of the goals of the project, which I feel like some of these goals have dropped off with this model, particularly the I'm sorry, I can't read the where is it? The climate impacts. As far as I can tell, a 5-lane, the current, I actually stood out on the corner of North Avenue and Old Hull Road for about an hour and a half last night at rush hour, somewhere between 4:30 and 6 o'clock, and watched the traffic. And as was explained, the volume is not all that huge. I never saw more than 4 cars stack up in any lane. Is it 5 o'clock, 5:30?
So
there are 2 lanes.
Time for commission input now. We appreciate you listening.
Granted, that's I'm sure it gets more trafficy when there are special events, but this was rush hour, 5 o'clock on the way home. I'm not sure that this 5-lane concept reduces the speed, and speed equals safety. Those cars were going 60 miles an hour. Somebody gets hit by a car going 60 miles an hour, they're dead. And they are dead. My mother got hit by a car going about 15 miles an hour, and she broke her hip and had a traumatic brain injury and is still never recovered. I just want to make sure that we can assure that we're going to get the proper refuge and the speed reduction that we need. And I want to challenge everybody to travel down North Avenue and count the donuts. Count the skid mark donuts between MLK and the Loop. I counted 6 last time. And while I was standing there on the corner of Old Hull, I saw a guy on an electric scooter putting his way up North Avenue. Sidewalk ended, and he got into the traffic lane and kept going. So there are people, and every time I turn on there, I see students riding their bikes on the sidewalk, and I had my cousin lived with me for a year or 2 when she was in grad school, and had a good friend who lived in one of those apartments.
Commissioner, it sounds as if a question you had that may be germane for staff to consider is whether this question of either pedestrian refuges or places where there may be plantings,
Yes.
where there are no turning movements, is that one of what you would describe, Manager Jones,
Would
as
that
the
be
tiny
included in
bike?
such a concept?
Well, that is in the CDO already. It says, as part of the implementation of the 5-lane typical section, the manager shall direct staff to perform a roadway safety audit and to evaluate the need for additional crosswalks and refuge islands.
Okay, so there is room for medians. And I want this whole body to take a walk. As this thing moves forward, we need to take a walk on North Avenue and recognize, what's causing the high speed there, and recognize how many people are using it on foot and alternative vehicles, because we've got hundreds more people moving to the in-town portion of North Avenue who will be using bikes and walking, and will be crossing that.
I want to recognize Commissioner Davenport had his hand raised.
All right, just simple question about, what is the lane width for buses and fire and all that stuff? Is it 11 or 10?
It's 11, and I believe, again, I'm not an engineer, but I believe that is why the lanes nearest the center lane are 11 for the buses. Excuse me, I have it the other way around. I think the lane width is wider near the curb because that's where buses will travel. However, we have asked that question, and buses can travel safely in the concept within the CDO.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, I want to address this whole thing for a couple of reasons. I have to put it out there. I want to say, first of all, that I am supporting this commission-defined option. So let me make that clear. However, I say this to everyone here, but also to people listening. I was chair of the Athens in Motion Commission before I came on here. I am a bike rider. I do commute around town. We do need to make it safer. With the number of e-vehicles right now, and e-bikes and e-scooters, that's more and more people doing that, which is great because that helps us when I'm in my car if there's fewer people there. Good all around. And I will be following this and looking closely at it to make sure that we are still addressing the safety issues that are part of this project. I talked with the manager, I talked with our community engineer here, and those are things that I will keep looking forward. But I spent a lot of time thinking on this project because I am known here on the commission and in the community as a bike advocate, as a bike and pedestrian advocate. And again, I use them all the time to get around. It was raining tonight. But there's something else that's also really important to me, and it was important in the 100% renewable resolution we passed. It's important in Athens in Motion, and that is a commitment to equity. And this grant is part of a federal grants. I spent way too much time looking at these federal grants today and so forth, that really talks about how we have to do this in partnership and collaboration with the community. And to address historical inequities and listen to the people who are living in the community. And in this point, I went to Commissioner Thornton's town hall. I went to the public input at the Boys and Girls Club. I was there and I listened. And if we're going to move forward with these kind of projects that are changes and differences, we have to include the community, and we have to get everyone buy-in today on this. I'm very moved by, I'm not going into politics here, but by what happened in the last 24 hours. And at this point, we need to be building coalitions and listening to each other. And so I am supporting this, and I will work forward to it. I do want to tell Mr. McManus that you can go up and look at TSPLOST, the North Avenue one, and there's all this stuff online that you can find about it. There's total millions of links in there. And also to Commissioner Link, I didn't know about our crosswalk policy because I was too busy running for office again back last April when we passed this with the CDO by Commissioner Wright and Commissioner Houle, and actually was talking to staff last week.
Commissioner Myers, do you need much more time?
10 seconds, 20 seconds, about adding crosswalks to Barnett Shoals, and they addressed exactly the page in here where you could have refuge islands and hawk beacons and so forth. So I wasn't aware of that, but they showed me this and told me the same thing applies to North Avenue.
Commissioner Houle?
Thank you, Mayor. I can certainly appreciate why so many folks in the community are feeling incensed about this, concerned about this. We don't have a great track record of public engagement, and the history, as one of our speakers shared, about how we got this road to be designed as it is illustrative of why we have such division among our community, because we make infrastructure of division. I guess I'm troubled that, I went back and I looked, June 6th of 2023, so almost a year and a half ago, we unanimously approved an 80-something page document that mapped out the concept that the staff recommendation that's on here completely aligns with. I can definitely appreciate that, average residents of Athens-Clarke County might not be watching every meeting and digging through 81-page documents to know that. And that's where I think the onus is on us to inform them. But that community meetings have happened in the last couple months at this stage after we already paid this contractor to do all this work, instead of having maybe that community input inform that contractor's work, is a troubling timeline. And I'm not saying this to put blame on anyone. I'm just saying this to note that what staff brought forward with the contractor that they hired does align with something that we unanimously approved almost a year and a half ago, at least by my read of that document and the many photos and diagrams therein. The studies that they did show that there's capacity to remove a lane and not affect traffic flow. In fact, I think the debate among staff was whether to go down to 3 lanes or 4, and they saw 4 as the compromise for event traffic and emergency vehicles and such. 5 lanes is just as dangerous, whether they're narrower or not, for people to cross, and are probably more dangerous for vehicles to be likely to collide into each other. I don't think we can look past that there's, in the last 5 years, 450 crashes on this corridor, and a third of them have been fatal or serious. And a serious rating for a crash doesn't mean you broke your arm. It means you were in critical condition in the hospital. It means you were near death. You just didn't die. It means you're likely to be paralyzed, or certainly your life has been altered for a very long time, if not forever. So a third of that 450, that's almost 200 people that have had their lives ended or ruined by the current design of this corridor. And it's a 5-lane road that's so dangerous to cross in such high speed that's going to keep giving us that. The last thing I'd like to get into, and I'll ask in advance for maybe 20 seconds if I can have that grace.
Unanimous consent for additional
Yes.
time?
Yes.
There's a lot of talk about how no one uses this road for bikes right now, and that's probably true. If there's a rushing river and you want to, build a swimming pool next to it, you can't look at how many people are swimming across the rushing river to determine whether or not anyone's going to swim there once there's a pool, because no one's going to swim in the rapids that they can drown in. And so similarly, on a road that's this dangerous, it's only the most hardcore spandex-wearing cyclists that are going to go down this road, or people who are intensely desperate or lost. And we hear about those people dying sometimes because this road is so dangerous. So I don't feel like I can in good conscience support a 5-lane option moving forward. We have over $20 million to dramatically transform this corridor to be so much safer. And I think that the staff recommendation is closer to where we need to be. I regret that we haven't had better public engagement before this point. That is a failure on our part, for sure. But that's my, 22 cents, I guess. I'll conclude with making a motion to approve the staff recommended option, just in case there's a second floating around in the room.
Is there a second? Hearing no second, we'll return to Commissioner Thornton.
First of all, the consultants came on April of this year. They did not start out 2 years ago when we were awarded the money. They just came on April of this year. So that makes me think, unless staff wasn't doing nothing but twiddling their thumbs, they were working on something. I would assume they were working on something. But the consultants did not come on until April of, what was that, 6 months ago? Mm-hmm. So that's not even a valid concern. Now, I don't know about the shade part, about, we voted on 88 pages. I stayed in regular contact with the former manager, or tried to, about this. And each of you, when we went through this during the work session, your concern was the deadline. That was the concern. We need to make that deadline. We don't want the money to go back. Well, I think we've made the deadline, kind of, sort of, no. But you did tell me something, so I'm gonna turn it over to Nikki, and, because you made me feel good earlier today, please don't mess it up. But I do want to clarify, no, the consultants has not been working with ACC for the last 2 years. And I don't know how much we paid them, but they've only been here 6 months.
Do you want Manager James to speak to the timeline?
Yeah.
As a point of clarification, so to Commissioner Thornton's point, the deadline is September 2026 for design, to spend the funds down for design. And it's the same deadline for us to be under contract with a construction firm, September 2026. So those two deadlines kind of come at the same time. Now, what has happened recently is we found out that there's a release of funds, essentially. We can go ahead, and we've been spending our money to design this thing up until this point, and doing all the planning for it. There's a release of funds, so we got that Monday, I believe. And so at this point, if the commission approves the concept, we will jump straight into the design of the concept.
Thanks, Manager. Any others before I return to Commissioner Myers? Commissioner Myers?
Just a point of clarification again from the manager, because I think having immersed myself in this more recently, and that the part of the restriction with the timeline that kind of forced us into this design had to do with the speed, but the decision to say, hey, it's going to take too long to get more land and right away, and therefore we're restricted to what we can put forward here in terms of lanes. And I think if I'm looking at, so there's a lot of details in here that affected the design we came up with that were bureaucratic, administrative, red tape things in terms of we only have this much time, and so therefore we're not even going to consider going after more right away. And that's going to be one of the things that's going to limit what we're going to look at in terms of how creative we're going to be with this. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Right-of-way acquisition has been a challenge, will be a challenge, even though we can start design pretty immediately. And it's also, because there's so many details here that's really hard to kind of explain in one sitting, as you all know. It's worth noting that we're not super clear on what the right-of-way is, so there is going to be additional opportunity as we go down the corridor to do additional things, because the right-of-way may not be as tight as it looks. So, all that's going to be fleshed out in the preliminary design phase.
As a quick follow-up to that, I just pulled this out because I did spend time looking at that application, and I think this is what Mr. Payne back there was referring to me earlier, that I see a proposed North Avenue proposed cross-section here that actually has 5 lanes on it, a sidewalk, a landscape area, and a shared use path. That was original vision, but because of this restriction in right-of-way, we sort of abandoned that one. So just want to make that point.
All right, we've got a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, no, Commissioner Hool opposed. All right, moving on to item 12.
Mr. Mayor, there actually was an ordinance.
Oh, there's an ordinance.
An ordinance to amend the FY operating capital budget for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide grant funding if awarded from the U.S. Department of Transportation 2022 RAISE grant program for the expenses related to the North Avenue infrastructure project and for other purposes.
All right, please note for the record that Attorney Drake read the ordinance. All right, item 12 is the SPLOST 2020, Project 28, the Mental Health Recovery Facility. This budget amendment, sanitary sewer system modification, and design services change.
Move to approve.
I've got a motion to approve from Commissioner Hool. Is there a second?
I'm a second, but I want to,
You could ask.
yeah.
All right, second from Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Hool, any remarks?
No, I'm good unless something comes up,
Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, I was just curious about, I know we got hold item 13, and I know item 12 was a budget amendment. Should we hold both of them to December 3rd, so we both vote on both of them together? That's all.
I don't think there's a need, if y'all want to, we can.
Because we're holding 13. And I was just trying to figure when we just hold both of them together and just vote them at the same time. That's
Good. 12, I guess, is design, 13 is the contract.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You could, they don't have to be joined together.
Yeah, I think it might be a good signal to the agency we're partnering with to move forward on this, so they know that we're moving forward on this, if that makes sense. Advantage, I mean, but,
and I know you,
because 13 is just who we're paying to do the work, but this is us deciding what work we want them to do.
Vote on the design.
We're just moving, we're adding the $1.4 million ARPA to it, so it's just.
To the budget.
Yes, sir.
And like, pretty frequently, we end up doing this months before we would do the contract award. It just happens to be coming at the same time. So.
Yeah. That's fine.
Attorney Drake, you need to read an ordinance?
Ordinance to amend the special purpose local option sales tax 2022 program budget so as to provide additional funding for project number 28, mental health recovery facility, and for other purposes.
All right, any other remarks? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. All right, is there a motion to hold item 13?
So moved.
Motion from Commissioner Fisher to hold, is there a second?
Second.
All right, second from Commissioner Hool. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none.
One thing, we're definitely going to approve this in December because we got to obligate these ARPA funds.
Yes, sir.
All right, good call. All right, item 14 is the LRC report regarding franchising of residential collection. And you'd like to make a motion, Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to pass this agenda item out with no action and request that the mayor reassign to committee opportunities for curbing littering, reducing out-of-county and recyclable items at the landfill, and strengthening requirements for permitting trash haulers to operate in Athens-Clarke County.
I'll second.
All right, got a second from Commissioner Wright. Commissioner Myers, any remarks?
Well, I guess here's another place where I think we're listening to the public and also trying to address the issues at the same time. I wrote about this in my newsletter and talked about the why of why are we doing this. And one of the reasons is we have multiple haulers going through the streets, but we also, just as importantly, have a littering problem. We also have a landfill that we are wondering about how to extend its life, and then also how to deal with haulers who aren't doing what they're saying. So it's, from my perspective, this is me personally talking, but sort of looking at this and saying, what is it, where are we balancing things? Because there's about 7,000 people in the county who do not have pay for a hauler every month. And so adding this in is adding in $300-400 a year payment for those people. So I had to balance those out. This is me personally, where I came to this point. And although I would have liked to be convinced that the franchising would solve all the other issues in the end, I wasn't convinced. And so I think this is a good compromise that addresses the needs here. And I'll just finish it with that and let Commissioner Wright say anything else she wants to say about it.
Commissioner Wright, any follow-up?
Thank you, Commissioner Myers, for letting me say. Anyway,
right.
We had chatted, and I would also like, Mr. Mayor, when you formulate a committee mission for us, if you will include for us, we learned a lot at the LRC, and a lot of it was the Director of Solid Waste wanting to do better, and information we learned was things she wanted to improve for her service district and her department. And I would like the committee assignment to include that latitude for the efficiencies that was asked for by the department head for solid waste with the current service district. And there might be some tweaks, partial streets that she thought she could do some efficiencies and service, but I think the goal of letting our director improve the service she provides and helping her with what we need to help approve for that, also coming from the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. It's very clear the franchise people, and we felt like this was going to happen coming out of committee, is learning that, but we're also not going to have the person who enjoys throwing their bag of trash out the window. They're not going to come and talk to us about that. So addressing some of the litter things and seeing what we can do to help with the landfill, or can maybe have a more focused approach to help the director and us battle the litterers who are not going to come and talk to us.
I am not familiar with the pro-litter lobby.
Yeah, they're kind of a silent group.
Any other input?
Yes.
Commissioner Davenport?
So yes, I would just want to say thank you for all the comments from the community and from my colleagues. This is And unfortunately, last night I didn't go to bed till 3, so I'm worn out. But anyway, this has been a project that the Solid Waste Advisory Commission has been working on for quite a few months, and that group used data, and we researched, we got consultants, and I still truly, it's my ignorance or arrogance or whatever it may be, I still believe that this is the original concept plan of franchising can work and should work, but I have to listen to the people, and they have spoken. There's a lot of misinformation that's out there. We're not going to stop anybody from franchising. Our next step was just to get a consultant to take a look at it. There are franchisors who, there are companies who actually support it. They're just not going to openly say it because they don't want to get the feedback and the emails that we've gotten, so they just want to do business because it is efficient. It's a lot more cheaper just to go into one neighborhood or 2 neighborhoods instead of zigzagging and going to one major neighborhood and have only like 2 homes to go to. Study has shown that it saves our streets when it comes to maintenance, our culverts, our gub cutters, and stuff like that. But I've gotten all the emails and all the phone calls, and I spent like 4 hours today getting screamed and cursed at. And I only had like 2 hours of sleep. I was like, yeah. So one customer, one resident, I fell asleep on. I felt bad, but anyway, I'm going to do a Hail Mary and do a motion to approve the seeking a consultant to franchise.
Motion to approve the committee recommendations. A substitute motion, is there a second?
I'll second. That's a motion to approve the agenda item as presented.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agenda item is presented, staff recommendation. I have a second from Commissioner Houle. Commissioner Houle, any remarks?
Yeah, I mean, Commissioner Davenport covered a lot of it. I understand a lot of the concerns we've heard from the community. And a lot of times, I think, not unlike previous points made tonight, the onus is on us to explain things to constituents who don't have time to sit through all the meetings we do and might not have poured through all the reports that we've been given. I think staff made a very strong case for why this proposal very meaningfully addresses most of the concerns that we're actually hearing people bring to us when they seem opposed to franchising. I've heard for as long as I've been on the commission, and even when I was running before that, from people who, are tired of all the truck traffic on their street, who are, certainly we all hear about the litter and the dumping issues. We hear from everyone, and we tell each other about how we want to be fiscally conservative, and that plays out in a lot of kind of unseen ways, like how quickly are our roads being worn down, or how quickly is our landfill filling up, or how efficiently is our recycling center running. And in all of these cases, this proposal would move us in a direction to do better and save money. It would be better for the environment, it would be better for the beautification of our city, it would be better for reducing carbon emissions. It leaves the door open for all current contractors to still have a chance to get a contract. It would approach bidding the same way we do for pretty much anything else we do, where people can bid in. It doesn't guarantee that they get the contract, but certainly there are members of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee who approved this, who voted to approve this, who are, running those companies. So obviously they're not totally opposed. There are some details I've heard people raise up, like, for example, variable roll cart size, that I think something, we could tweak that, for example. But I don't think that moving away from this gives us any kind of clear direction. I don't see what we're going to bring back to staff that this is staff's recommendation for addressing all the things that's outlined in the original motion on the floor. And, whatever goes back to committee, at that point, probably just wasting time on committee, just let staff bring us some kind of budget request or something. I don't know if it needs to be a committee assignment to discuss other litter prevention tactics, Our landfill's filling up, our staff is struggling to make sure that the garbage that goes in it is coming from this county. This is a way to reduce that. So I feel like this makes a lot of sense, and like Commissioner Davenport, I'm underslept. I only slept 3 hours last night, so I'm not making the best argument on the record right now, but I've talked to plenty of constituents in my district who called me with concerns, and after we talked through it, after they went back and watched the videos of the meetings where we've gone through this, they were convinced that it actually does make sense, or at least the strength of their concern was alleviated a good deal. So I hope we can move forward with this.
Got Commissioner Thornton, then Commissioner Link.
I am going to support Commissioner Myers' motion, but one thing I'd like to bring out is Commissioner Davenport was talking about the work they have done through solid waste on this issue. And then we were doing work with LRC on this issue, and we never came together. We never came and discussed, different points of views. And it is the same example that we have from the community's perspective. If we should be talking together or something so we could be in unity, whatever recommendation we make. So if it does go back to committee, which I hope it does, I hope that if solid waste is still interested in working on this, that we'll talk together.
And just as a process question, Commissioner, the Citizen Solid Waste Committee made a recommendation and asked for some commission action, and the route for that commission action was then through the legislative review. So they basically kind of brought us
So
back
they
as a
gave
recommendation.
us their idea, their thought, okay.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what this recommendation is.
Well, I would rather think that, it don't even matter. I'm supporting Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Link?
Yeah, I'm supporting Commissioner Myers' CDO, and I think that there are things that can be done to tweak our licensing of these haulers that would kind of coax them into behaving more like franchises, like limit the days in certain areas when pickup can happen, mandate roll cards, mandate that they offer recycling, just bring them up to the standards that we hold our own solid waste haulers to, and maybe give them a tighter timeline for pickup, which might, push them for efficiency's sake to, stick to that one area for a particular day, so they're not riding all across town, back and forth zigzagging, and maybe they'll be more likely to just offer in a particular area and kind of coax them into behaving more like franchised haulers. I have ideas. I'm not on LRC or on the Solid Waste Committee, but we should chat.
Yeah. Commissioner Wright and then Commissioner Davenport.
Commissioner Link brought up some of the details we talked about in committee, and because our committee was not completely sold on this, was one of the reasons we wanted to go ahead and get it out of committee and get a feel for what the majority wants us to spend time on, and if the majority wants us to focus on improving or strengthening the permit process, which is the current way we deal with them. Help me out, staff, on that. And then franchising idea was another sort of completely different category, so that now the focus would be, let's improve the permitting and make more details for it, or the cycle of permitting. We learned and rehashed different details of the towing permitting and how that's assigned and different things. So I think with the charge of the financing not getting a majority vote, it can help the committee stay with improvements in permitting, and as well as the current service districts' efficiencies and service improvements.
Commissioner Davenport.
So my final plea, then I'm gonna go to sleep. So just, the way Solid Waste Advisory Commission saw it and submitted it was then literally just to go to the next step of doing some research, hiring a consultant to take a look at it, and then, of course, it will come back to us and we'll modify, make some, directions and go from there. But at the end of the day, we're all math people. Like, it is literally costing us hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars with illegal dumping, service theft, and it's low-hanging fruit. And if everybody in our community feels that they just want to waste millions of dollars, let's do it. We can keep it how things are. This is just a solution that have shown, this is a solution that have shown to improve community beautification and litter on the street. It's not going to be 100% because there are going to be some people out there who are going to just do their thing, but this is just a step forward. But I know where this is headed. I tried, and nail in the coffin.
Commissioner Houle?
Yeah, Lion, in this hole with Commissioner Davenport, I just, in case anyone's open to hearing this again, we discussed this as the agenda setting, we discussed this in the committee meetings. The Attorney's Office has been very busy, so this is not me trying to critique the Attorney's Office. We didn't end up getting the memo I had talked about, so maybe that's something the Attorney's Office can put together if this does move forward the way Commissioner Meyer's motion is suggesting. But the permitting process we use, there is no way for us to change that to hold the haulers, quote unquote, more accountable. That has been made like crystal clear repeatedly. We talked about that in multiple meetings. We got memos from the attorney on that. The structure we currently use does not work for that. So go ahead and send it back to committee. You're going to get the same answer from the attorney's office. We're the only community of all the peer communities that they looked at who does our trash hauling this way. All the other ones we looked at do it the franchising way and or more municipal. All the other ones we looked at get more services for the same rate or less. They get composting, they get bulky waste, sometimes monthly. The holding accountable, you get to hold them accountable. Why did Republic do such a terrible job in Athens during the pandemic? Because they had a franchising agreement in other counties that forced them, that made it a priority for them to go there, and they just left us in the lurch because there were no consequences. This is the way that we do that. So I understand that we have gotten a lot of negative feedback from concerned constituents for a variety of reasons. But sometimes the onus is on us to present the facts to constituents so they can understand why this is good for the community, why this is good for our environment, why this is good for the life of our landfill, why this is good for our budget and saving us and the taxpayers money. It does not make sense to me why we are walking away from this just because, like happens so often, once it ends up on our agenda, we've had a few dozen people show up to complain. I don't know how many people complain about the problems that this seeks to address. And sometimes people don't always make those connections. They see the litter, they see the dumping, they see the trucks on their street, they experience the poor service from their hauler, and they think someone's got to do something. And they don't necessarily think like someone's really got to franchise the solid waste service. They just think someone's got to do something. This is us doing something.
All right, we've got Commissioner Myers.
I must respond to that. To imply that some of us have not thought about this independently. I will say again, that my decision here is not made on the number of people that I've received emails from. I guess I need to have another soft drink with Commissioner Houle and Davenport to be completely convinced, because during our 4 meetings and many times on this, I wasn't completely convinced that all the problems we were trying to solve were going to be, fixed through franchising. And, I do spend a lot of time looking into these things, and I probably have about a 1,500-word essay here in my last newsletter explaining my point of view on this and explaining the part that was being put forward in here. I know there are people who listen to this who aren't here, who share information about it, and I think it's more complex, and it's adding anyway, so I'm just saying that sticking up, since we're all talking with our limited hours of sleep, I'll just make that last comment there to stick up for my integrity in terms of how I thought through this motion that I've made tonight.
Integrity noted. All right, we've got a
Okay.
substitute motion on the floor. We're going to go ahead and begin with Commissioner Davenport.
Davenport,
Yes.
Lane,
No.
Taylor,
No.
Wright,
No.
Fisher,
No.
Poole,
Yes.
Culpepper,
No.
Myers,
No.
Thornton,
No.
Hamby.
No.
2 yes, 8 no.
All right, so motion fails. We'll return to the original motion, begin with Commissioner Myers.
Myers,
Yes.
Thornton,
Yes.
Hamby,
Yes.
Davenport,
Yes.
Link,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Poole,
No.
Culpepper,
Yes.
9 yes, 1 no.
All right, motion carries. All right, moving on to item 15, this is the North Oconee River Sanitary Sewer Interceptor Improvement. Is there a motion for approval of this design?
So moved. Second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Wright and a second from Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Wright, anything compelling about this?
Ready to vote?
Commissioner Taylor,
I am too.
any other remarks about this sanitary sewer design? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, item 16 is the intergovernmental agreement between ACCGov and the Classic Center Authority for funding to develop the Center for Racial Justice and Black Futures. Entertain a motion to approve.
Approve.
Second.
All right, got a motion from Commissioner Taylor. I've got a second from Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Taylor, any remarks?
I think this is going to be a beautiful project once it is complete. And I just want us as a body to keep the word to Ms. Whitehead and the residents of Linden Town, or the descendants of Linden Town.
Well said.
All right, Commissioner Fisher,
Ready to vote.
any others? All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. Item 17 is the TSPLOST 2023 Project 28 College Square Pedestrian Plaza Intergovernmental Agreement with the ADDA.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion for approval from Commissioner Wright. Got a second from Commissioner Link. Commissioner Wright, any remarks?
Ready to go? Ready to vote?
Commissioner Link?
Yeah, I just want to thank the ADDA for moving forward with this, and I'm looking forward to a stakeholders meeting next week and looking forward to the broader public input as the design moves forward. So there will be some public announcements soon, for dates for those public input sessions.
Anything further?
Just real quick question.
Commissioner Davenport?
And it could be in my email. It's been, when is the public engagement meeting? I know we gotten, input for the general public.
I don't think they've announced one for the
Okay.
general public yet, but there's early stakeholders meeting next week.
Next
Tuesday.
All right, thank you.
Any others? All right, I walked through the plaza twice today on a variety of errands, and I'm looking very much forward to this seeing the light of day. So thanks, everyone. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, item 18 is the TSPLOST 2026 Predesignated Countywide Sustainment Programs. Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the CDO submitted by myself and Commissioners Davenport, Thornton, and Culpepper.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Myers, second from Commissioner Davenport. Commissioner Myers, any further remarks?
Yeah, I do want to make sure I explain this to the public. This is, there's, included in the packet is a breakdown of pre-designated countywide transportation projects that 70% of the TSPLOST money would be used for. And I do want to explain the reasoning behind this a little bit here. Back in September, the staff presented us with pre-designation for the possibilities for the 2026 funds based on our request for them to give us that. And that's because there are really a lot of transportation-related maintenance needs that the county needs to address. And the only way these needs can be addressed is with dollars to pay for the work that either come from the general fund and the property tax or from the sales tax fund. And therefore, this pre-designation puts money to our road pavement program, live stream pipe replacements, which are basically streams that go under our roads, right? Bridge repair, maintenance, residential traffic management program, transit bus services and a replacement buses, as well as a mall bus transfer station. And so this would leave, if we predesignate this money, if we don't predesignate it, it's money that has to come over the general fund or be put off for another day. And as myself, as a homeowner, I compare this to one's budget for home ownership, that I'm going to maintain the house and the yard, replace the roof and the heating and air before I go on and add a fancy deck or pool or house extension. That's not wise fiscally. And I do want to make a point that I think is really important, and that is a lot of people think that the funds for SPLOST have to only be spent on special projects. And yet, that is really a word that refers to the type of tax it is. It's a special tax that most counties don't, they have their staff and their commissioners designate what the projects are for and don't go through our community process. We will still go through the community process, but we'll also be taking care of where we have projects coming in from the community or staff, but we will also be taking care of these maintenance needs that we need to not keep putting off. So hopefully that explains it. I'm not sure if it did or not. Came back to our little sleep last night, but I will finish with that and hope that we have the support of colleagues to pass this.
I've got Commissioner Davenport is the seconder.
So yes, we have a lot of needs in our community when it came to ARPA funds. We didn't spend a lot of money on infrastructure. So I recommend approval of this CDO because it addresses the most pertinent need that in our community without raising property taxes or without dipping too much in the general fund, where we can use those monies towards more directed community needs. That's it.
Commissioner Taylor.
I would like to make a motion to, Patrick has already seconded Carol's, but to add an option, 1C, to direct the manager to extend the deadline for the submittal of TSPLOST 26 project requests from November the 10th to January the 10th, 2025, with the exception of getting more community input from other districts as far as what their process is, mainly mine. I can't speak for the other 9, but mainly me. I second that.
Given that kind of would sort of lay with the existing one, do you just want to offer that as a friendly amendment to the
Yeah.
standing motion? And would you accept that?
Oh, yes,
Myers?
definitely accept that.
And a seconder, Commissioner Davenport, you'd accept that?
Yes, if I get some water, somebody can help me. I'm coughing over here. Thank you.
So we're going to include in the motion the extension of submission time.
I would like, I approve that amendment with the need for some comments from the manager's office about how this will work with the running of the program. And
Certainly, and thank you. So the deadline we were working towards is May 2026, of course. I would just offer that a potential pitfall here, so we can certainly do it, but a potential pitfall here is a break in the collections. And as I understand it, about 15 years ago, there was such a break in the collections. Y'all would know better than me, and apparently some merchants were not pleased about that. I think that is the only pitfall here. So can we push it back 60 days? The answer is yes, but we have been working towards this May 2026 deadline. Now, what we would try to do, if y'all move forward with this, is get the committee to work harder and review the applications quicker. So, that's what we would try to do to make that May 2026 deadline. We would ask them to work harder. And anyway.
Commissioner Hamby?
Thank you, Mayor. So the May 2026 is like a year and a half from now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, yeah, maybe I would support moving the deadline back because, like Commissioner Taylor, there may be some other districts like mine. I will say this, though, and ask this question. So if we approve this designated list, that doesn't prohibit us from making changes to a final list as presented to us at the appropriate time.
There would be a second bite at the apple, the same size as the apple.
Thank you. Thank Thank you. And I will say this, for everybody that's tired, if we all just kind of hurry up and say what we're going to say, we could go home and go to sleep.
Commissioner Wright?
Quickly,
Thank you. So,
I won't be supporting this. I do like the idea of the time. I wish that was a whole nother motion, but I think that more time is needed for the public and to get their submissions in, and I do believe that our Citizens Committee is the one who should be making the designations. And as Mr. Walker said, they're appointed for a reason, and I think that it would be respectful for us to let them assess the staff needs along with the community input needs and bring that back to us without us pre-designating. So I'm in favor of more time for the projects to come in, and I'll support the accelerated program that we need. And but I don't agree with the pre-designation.
Commissioner Houle?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to clarify one thing with the manager, and then I have a thought. You said asking the advisory committee to work harder, but as I recall, we're already planning on having them meet like twice a week for a few hours each meeting, right?
there's how many projects we get.
That's exactly it. Depending on the number of projects. It's totally doable, right? I just wanted to put that out there. I wanted to just,
Heard. Well, one thing I might encourage colleagues, because it sounds like you're going to be working with constituents to try to get some good stuff on the proposal list, is to see what is possible in terms of consolidating like a series of special projects into maybe like one bundle. So that, which would still include all the special projects, but it could be wrapped into one presentation, just so that we don't end up in a situation like we did last time where there's 90-something presentations for this body to review. And I mean, these are unpaid folks that we're asking to do this. So just kind of bear that in mind, I guess, when you're urging projects, which I fully support. I think it's great. I guess I just want to share that to Commissioner Hamby's point. Currently, this CDO puts more money toward pavement maintenance than I personally think is necessary, and I think it actually exceeds the amount we've been spending in recent years. If we were to go with this, it might actually put us more on track with what staff wants to see us do. But I would recommend that maybe as a place to pull some extra funding from if need be.
Yeah, what is the ETA on the collections of the current TSPLOST coming due?
I had a schedule would be May 2026. So we've been collecting ahead of schedule. So
Yeah. So is
I
there
can get
any-
that information for you. I can just tell you we've been collecting ahead of schedule.
Okay, I mean, I just want to make sure we don't end up with that gap. 'Cause
Sure.
it could be a
And
real
we can,
nightmare for
if we move forward
lots
with
and lots of
this,
businesses.
I'll provide more information on that, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for FYI, and I guess to my ignorance, I did not realize that a commissioner or his district can put forth T-SPOT projects, so I just learned that, so that's why I asked my colleague, Commissioner Taylor, to say, can we get the extension, because I am gonna do a town hall in December and present this to my constituents and see, and I got some pockets that I know need some things done, but I want to get their opinion, and I understand about the user group. And I'm assuming, Nikki, that Manager Jones, that have our user group been contacting yet? The people that we recommended, have we reached out to them yet?
No, sir. We're waiting on a few more appointees. I think we're close. I sent an email out earlier today. We are holding off on notifying any of the recommended membership until we have the full group, so there's not any kind of misinformation or folks getting information ahead of time, that kind of thing.
Okay, but
We're close.
But, and again, no knock on staff, but I think sometimes when we do these type of things, it might help us if we say, hey, Commissioner, if you want something in your district or you want your constituents to let us know, and that would be helpful in moving forward. So, but now I know as we move forward what we can do with projects.
Yes, sir.
All right. We've got CDO on the floor from Commissioner Myers, second from Commissioner Davenport. All in favor of the CDO, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, so note that Commissioner Wright and Commissioner Hamby,
I thought it was Commissioner Hall.
No, I was voting in favor.
voting in favor.
It's late.
And so opposed are Commissioners Hamby and Wright. All right. Item 19 is a resolution to refer to the Planning Commission consideration of a local ordinance to amend our halfway house process to correspond with recently updated state of Georgia code amendments. And so this would align with the normal special use process rather than have the more extended 6-month process.
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion to approve from Commissioner Hool and second from Commissioner Hamby. Commissioner Hool, any remarks?
You all have heard me talk about this enough at the end of the last 6 meetings, so glad that it's here.
Commissioner Hamby?
No. Yeah.
Any others? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, given that we have 2 items of new business, I need a motion for suspension of rules.
So moved.
All right, got a motion from Commissioner Myers, second from Commissioner Fisher. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, item 20 under new business is a resolution authorizing a settlement with an individual. Do I hear a motion for such settlement?
Mayor, I'll be recusing myself from.
All right, we'll note a recusal from Commissioner Davenport. Is there a motion?
So move.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Link. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, I've got a second from Commissioner Taylor. All right. Any remarks, Commissioner Link?
No.
Any remarks, Commissioner Taylor?
Me neither. I was served at home. I just want to put that out there about this and, yeah, I just second. Just tired.
Any others? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Do you need to read an ordinance regarding that? Turn direct, no, okay. All right, item 21 is a resolution referring to 110 West Hancock Avenue.
So moved.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
Second.
I've got a second from Commissioner Taylor. All right, Commissioner Wright, any remarks?
Just 4 pages of a lot of details on this for anyone who wants to read up on it.
Commissioner Taylor?
No, I'm ready to vote.
Commissioner Link?
Yes, this is the commission requesting that the planning commission allow, or I guess the HPC allow removal of the Say building, which is the circa 1922 story building at the corner of Hancock and Lumpkin, requesting that they remove it from the historic district and then ask the planning department to allow them to demolish it for a parking lot. This was a request that originally came through from First United Methodist Church, who owns the building and has had it vacant for years, back in 2018, and the planning commission denied it. It is not appropriate use for a parking lot in our rich and vibrant downtown. We moved forward with designating a historic district, and that property is no longer allowed to be demolished because it's in the historic district. The First United Methodist Church has since sued Athens-Clarke County, seeking permission and threatening like major big money settlement. We were forced into mediation, and my colleagues voted to settle and basically give them exactly what they wanted from the beginning with no concessions whatsoever from the church. We are giving special favors to a religious organization in doing this. I don't believe that we would come to the same conclusion if it were any random developer. And I will continue to vote no, and I look forward to the Planning Commission and the Historic Preservation Commission weighing in on this as it moves forward.
And of course, given this resolution, we will see those elements of this come back to the full body.
Yes, there will be multiple opportunities for public input on this.
Commissioner Hamby wanted to note a recusal from this item. Thank you. Any further input? All right, there is a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, please note if you're opposed.
No.
All right, please note opposition from Commissioner Link. Thank you, Commissioner. All right, so now is the time for resident input on any item that is not on our tonight's agenda. Oh, we have a return.
Reconsideration. Thank you. I'm sorry.
We have the Woodlawn comment that's returned.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry to add to-
Apologize, item
that's fine.
22
I know you
is
don't-
in fact.
To reconsider.
Reconsideration, and kudos to John Hawkins in the Attorney's Office, who worked rapidly today to give us a map. So Commissioner Hamby, would you like to place a motion
Sure,
on the
and
floor?
I will. I'm just going to make a motion. I need to explain something after I make the motion, but a motion to approve the ordinance that establishes the control residential parking on Woodlawn between Stanton and South Millage, and for the establishment of the yellow curving on the northern side of Woodlawn Avenue. That's my motion.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, and there's an ordinance. I'll have you read that ordinance, Attorney Drake.
Ordinance for the establishment of controlled parking residential area on Woodlawn Avenue between Stanton Way and South Millage Avenue, and for the establishment of yellow curbing on the northern side of Woodlawn Avenue and for other purposes.
So this is just a minor modification to what we approved. Commissioner Hamby, any
It
remarks?
is, and I appreciate y'all reconsidering this, and I'm sorry to take up your extra time, but I did want to make a note on the map that we're referring to as attachment 1, just so staff is aware. So you have the yellow, then the green, then a little bit of yellow on each side of the driveway. On the left side of the driveway, I do not believe that there is actually a yellow curb there, right in front of the red sign that denotes the designation. So you see where I'm saying? There's not, I don't think there is, no, there's a car parked there often, so there's not a yellow curb there. Right, and yes, I do, I'm sorry, y'all, thank you. It's this part right there. It should be. It should be green. Yeah, that needs to be. Yeah, that needs to be part of the staff's greening, okay? That stays yellow. Okay.
Attorney Drake, just as a process thing, can we handle this as a Scrivener's?
I think so, because it's right next to the driveway, and I think they,
This little section should be green. I've noted it right beside the red dot.
right.
Staff changed that from the ordinance.
All right, so we'll repair that as a Scrivener's matter.
I also believe staff could probably do administratively, since it's right next to the driveway. So, any rate, that's my motion. Thanks for helping with this, y'all.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further remarks? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, ordinance carries. All right, now, in fact, is that time when residents can provide input on any item that are not on our agenda tonight. Rules of input are the same as earlier. Please give us your name, and please be clear about the item of interest to you. And you have the same 3-minute opportunity, and you'll see the same light apparatus that'll turn green when you begin speaking, yellow when 30 seconds remain, and red when the 3 minutes has expired. Good evening.
Yes, I have two. My name is Val Williams. I live at 443 3rd Street, Athens. I have two things that I would just like to ask the commissioners to pay attention to and try to see if you can get it resolved, because I have called several times and I get the runaround. One is for Virginia Walker Park. The lights are there, but they do not come on at night. If you walk through there, if your car broke down, you would have a heart attack trying to walk up through there in all that dark. I would appreciate it if you all would look into trying to get somebody, if they don't, it's considered in the city limits, because it is the park and it enters out to Peter Street, Olympic Drive. They have lights. The lights are on if an activity is going on there, but that's a public street. If you don't need to put all the lights on, but maybe every other light. But I have called the Recreation Department, I have called Georgia Power, and they said they would look into it, then nothing ever happens. The second issue is with Athens Transit. I have talked to them before as well, and I especially like for Commissioner Melissa Link, but all of you all, to just pay attention. It's a park, and it's dark, and it's got sidewalks on both sides, but it is so, if you just stop down there and turn your lights off and look out the back, it's horrifying. The second thing is, I live on 3rd Street. There are
4 bus stops on 3rd Street. None of them have covers over them. If a person wanted to catch the bus, well, they do catch the bus. They stand out in the rain or with their own umbrella. But now at North Avenue and Strickland Street, some people think that's 1st Street, but that's Strickland Street that comes into North Avenue. There are 3 covers. It's one at the apartments, it's one sitting bare, and then there's one across the street. All 3 of those have covers on it. I think that's a disgrace. If you got 3 right there together, but then when I call Athens Transit, they say that it's not enough people to ride the bus. That bus has been coming up 3rd Street ever since transit came back into Athens, because I live right there on the bus route. If you can't put a top over 3, one of them, why can't, I mean 3 of them, why can't you at least put 1 over 1? Because that one out there is like right here, like a triangle, and all 3 of them have covers on them. So now, I've talked several times to people, the heads, the directors and whatever, of those things, of those departments, and I can't get any kind of resolution. They tell me that 3rd Street don't have enough people, but somebody standing there to catch the bus every day.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. I
thank you.
appreciate it very much. Is there anyone else to speak to any item not on the agenda tonight? Good evening.
Hello, I am Isabel Scott. I am a constituent resident of Athens, homeowner in Athens, 238 Evans Street. I wanted to speak on behalf and regarding some political organization I've been doing lately. If you guys know what ranked choice voting is, I have been working, a few others and I in Athens who are passionate about ranked choice voting have started a local chapter here of an advocacy organization, and we're trying to see ranked choice voting be adopted. If you don't know, very quickly, Georgia has a runoff system in its current elections, where I'm sure you all know that as commissioners, if you don't reach that 50%, you have to have a runoff. Ranked choice voting, also called instant runoff voting, would eliminate that need for a runoff by allowing people to put down their second choice at that one time, eliminating the need for a second runoff, which would create a lot more fiscal savings for the county. I'm asking for a resolution to support ranked choice voting being legalized at the statewide level, to urge the Georgia legislature to support ranked choice voting. I had a screening to support such measure. A few commissioners and Mayor Kelly Gertz also showed up at that, and I asked the mayor to please put such a resolution on the agenda setting meeting. I believe that will be on the next agenda setting meeting or some soon agenda setting meeting. So I'm asking and hoping that you all consider that. It's fiscal savings, it's partisan benefits, it's benefits in reducing partisanship, and many others. Yeah, and I thank you for giving me the chance to speak. It's great to see all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. Is there any other resident who would like to speak to any item not on the agenda? Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. How are you guys doing today? My name is Grant Alexander Miller. I live on 385 River Road. I'm a student at the University of Georgia, and I am one of the members of said local chapter for Better Ballot Georgia. I work with Isabel, and we are working for the advocacy of previously mentioned instant runout voting, also known as ranked choice voting. And while Isabel touched on some of the financial applications, or I guess the benefits of the system, I really want to harp on the representational aspect that this system would improve. Especially with this previous election, if you ask the citizens of Georgia, you'll find that a common thread is that they feel as if their voices aren't heard. They feel as if they feel as if they're invisible. And visible voters feel as if their voices are unheard. Those voices are not accurately represented in our government, and an ill representative government leads to many, many problems down the line. one of the reasons why we're advocating for ranked choice voting is because specifically it increases both voter turnout, voter satisfaction, and perceived voter representation. All of these things are very, very important, especially for this new political future we're entering in, as times are very clearly changing. And as we have seen in states in Alaska and Colorado, it started in places like this, in commission offices and county offices. It started when mayors and citizens advocated for their states to change from a grassroots perspective. So I'd like to ask that everybody here take some time to consider being the leaders of a new political wave, if not for this city, for maybe the larger state of Georgia. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Grant. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to any item not on tonight's agenda? All right, seeing none, just very briefly, obviously we've remarked throughout the evening about everybody's level of exhaustion. I don't know that many people got much sleep last night. But what I do want to say in the wake of the election yesterday, particularly as I contrast the national mood to kind of our local phenomenon, is that no matter what we may see happening that may not reflect the values of the Athens community, we will continue to be a community that leads with thoughtfulness and love for our community members and engagement and facts. So I'm looking forward to continued work in that vein here. Want to see if there's anything from the manager tonight. Anything, Manager Jones?
No, sir.
Anything from the attorney?
I just wanted to clarify one thing for the record with respect to agenda item number 21 related to the resolution the commission just approved. Commissioner Link indicated that the commission had voted on that, but I wanted to clarify this is the first vote being taken by the commission related to this item.
We'll note that for the record, that this is actually the first vote.
Yes.
Anything, Auditor? All right, we'll go ahead and begin with Commissioner Davenport and end with a motion to adjourn and remarks from Commissioner Hamby.
All righty, I sent to all my colleagues, well, first of all, thank you, Isabel, and gentlemen, I forgot your name, and I'm sorry I missed the showing, but, and thank for all the people who spoke out tonight. But I sent all my colleagues an email about an issue I'm having with noise coming from the fairgrounds. If y'all can please, for the love of God, help me in that situation. And I believe it's an LRC, if you can put that top of your list, and we can move that forward so I can get some additional sleep at night. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and that's all.
I've also had some back and forth with constituents about noise. As our community grows and more businesses come to Prince Avenue, Normaltown, we're getting more disruptions in the neighborhood. I'd also like us to consider a noise ordinance for downtown with all the competing amplified noise that's happening downtown. I believe it's high time we laid some parameters on that, especially with amplified street preachers who often hurl insults at kids lining up to get their pictures taken at the Arch. So I'll be weighing in with some of the LRC folks about some of the specific complaints I'm getting from my constituents. And I just want to send love out to all my friends in the LGBTQ community and my friends in the immigrant community, people of color throughout this nation. We're looking at some very hard times. Fascism has come to our nation, and I've been saying it for a long time. We've been frogs in a boiling pot. I know it's hard to go to that dark place, but we're there. And we need to love our neighbors and stand up for them. We basically have three choices. We can flee, we can fight, or we can fall in line. It's been pretty clear that, some people in our community have already fallen in line. I'm here to fight. And I invite my community to join me.
I would like to thank staff for all of your hard work, and all of my colleagues for all of the conversations that we've had back and forth with our own commissioner-defined options and finding ways to make Athens better and less divisive. I would also like to just put this out there that HCD has CBDG funding applications. The portal opened October the 25th. And the deadline is November 25th at 11:59. And I just, like housing counseling, community revitalization projects, community partnership, I would just ask if you have any projects that you would like to get funding for, maybe to look at that for more inclusiveness. Also, last night was very hard to see where we are now, but I think as individuals, we have to choose to be peaceful, to be neighborly, to each other. We can't say that we want everyone to be neighborly, but then call each other names. It's been shown that it really doesn't work. And that's just it. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, I have a big thanks to everyone in our unified government for all the hard work for the election. I can't even begin to list all that's involved, but I know it was extra hard work, long hours, lots of early voting, the equipment, from people part to the equipment part, the poll workers, the training. I do applaud, and I want to thank the additional site of Linden House, and I hope that that'll be a future use there for early voting site, and I appreciate them, that whatever it took with the team for that to be added. The two committee things, Mr. Mayor, that I wanted to have addressed, and I'm not sure how to word this, but I know you will be able to capture it. It has to deal with wheeled vehicles on our sidewalks. It seems to me that, especially motorized, but it seems to me like ADDA apparatuses are the only wheeled apparatuses that should be on our sidewalks. So you had mentioned something about areas where skateboarding is not allowed, and if you could send to committee so that we can have a concise way to address in the concentrated areas where our pedestrian traffic is so heavy, there's no room to share it with wheeled apparatuses besides, I guess, again, wheelchair. And then there's other areas where sharing the sidewalk as a mixed use does work. I think a committee assignment to strengthen that. And then the other committee assignment, I'm not sure how to articulate it, but it piggybacks a little about what Dr. Maddox had said, was having a consistent and comprehensive way that we're communicating our outreach to the public. If we have the quarters, the various ones we talked about today, knowing when we would have yard signs in that quarter that let people know about the surveys and the input, and having a consistent amount of time when dates are posted to fill out applications or to do a survey, that we have the same amount of time for the public. And there's just some consistency there that I think we could help, and I don't know if that is necessarily a committee assignment, but an example recently, it was posted on the website on the 25th, and that night was a public hearing. So there's got to be enough time for us to help put it out there in our modes, for us to communicate with our districts, and when it's community-wide, making sure all hands are on deck to help communicate the public input that we want, so that we're getting it sooner in the process to make it effective. But in that said, when we do put something out to the public, we need to be willing to hear what they say and adjust. And I think that that's an important part of the process as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I too want to thank our staff for the job that you all do. I know you constantly get bombarded with questions from us, and I appreciate the time that you all give us to ask questions. Also to our Board of Election, they did just an outstanding job. We had a record turnout,
Athens-Clarke County government for the vote, and they did a really good job. I don't think we had any hiccups that I heard of. So ditto to Charlotte and her team and all those volunteers. This Monday is Veterans Day. I know we got a lot of employees that are veterans of the armed services, and I want to thank them for what they do. Also for the men and women in our community and the men and women who work for the Athens-Clarke County government. Happy Veterans Day, and thank you for your service to this country.
Here to Commissioner Fisher's words regarding our veterans. I do want to thank the public commenters for coming and for their work with Better Ballot Georgia. I support the ranked choice voting resolution. I hope we can see that move forward next month. I do want to reiterate again, while I can, a request of colleagues. First, I want to thank Commissioners Myers, Taylor, Link, and Mayor Gertz for signing the Jewish Voice for Peace letter regarding a ceasefire. And I plead with my other colleagues to consider signing that or otherwise expressing your support for us to have our own resolution. The war over there is escalating. More and more U.S. troops are being sent, so it's having more and more of a direct impact on our communities. Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel has driven out all the moderates from his government, in case anyone's read that in the past couple days, and there's an international consensus among almost every country except for the United States that what's going on there amounts to war crimes and crimes against humanity. And those are being carried out with weapons and massive bombs that our tax dollars pay for and that our elected representatives are approving. And so especially with yesterday's election, we can expect that unless there's some kind of shift, which could probably only be made possible if there's a groundswell of outcry, otherwise we're probably going to see that just escalate further. So I just urge colleagues to consider our place in time, not just in history or our legacy, but just in this moment, like what matters to you in terms of human life and how we might contribute to suffering, even if it's far away. I'd also like to thank Mayor Gertz for the movement on the thing that we just passed tonight, the halfway houses resolution, and reiterate my request that we look at exempting homesteader properties from the single-family regulations and to remove gas stations as a by right allowance in our zoning code. I'm just going to take a beat to share two little allegories that I have found helpful in this time. One is the one of the farmer who gets a really nice horse, and all of his villagers come up and say, "Wow, so lucky you got this horse. It's beautiful. It's amazing." And he says, "Well, maybe so, maybe not." And then his son's riding the horse a few days later, trying to train it, and gets bucked off and breaks his leg really terribly, like his femur, and then all the people in his village come to him and they say, "Oh, this is terrible news, so unlucky." And he says, "Well, maybe so, maybe not." A couple weeks later, the military comes through and they're forcefully conscripting people into the army who are of age, and his son is not pulled into the army because he broke his leg. And once again, villagers say, "Oh, so lucky," and maybe so, maybe not. So I feel emotional just trying to figure out how to process where we are and what lies ahead. We don't know, but I try to take some solace in the not knowing. And the other little parable, it's a shorter one, I promise. It's this guy, he's getting chased by a tiger. He's running towards a cliff. He's got nowhere to go. The tiger's going to be on him. He thinks, "I better jump off this cliff because it's better than getting eaten alive by a tiger." So he jumps off the cliff. And as he's falling down, he sees this branch, and he grabs onto this branch. And for just a moment, he's able to hold onto this branch before he's going to fall to his sure death. And he sees, while he's there holding onto the branch, that there's some strawberries growing out of the rock side. And he takes a moment to just eat the strawberry. And so when we think about what lies ahead and we fear the worst, which in some ways I do, I would encourage people to take the time we're in now to eat a few strawberries.
I'd like to thank the veterans for their service to our country and everything they've done for us.
and hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I want to thank Isabel and William.
What's your name?
What's your name?
Grant.
Grant, thank you for coming and speaking on ranked choice. I am in support of that. I'm following up on perhaps what Commissioner Wright said, but I didn't mention it earlier, but in terms of all that stuff with the raise grant and equity and everything else, I clicked on a link to a 100 and whatever page federal publication about promising practices for meaningful public involvement in transportation decision-making, because they were exactly on this point, when to do it, creative ways and such. So I'll share that link with you. I do want to thank my colleagues here for the civility that we've shown tonight. I really appreciate the way we respectfully worked together on different issues with different alliances on various agenda items. That's refreshing, that we're not just sticking in our little alley and are working across, just working in different coalitions here. It gives me a little more faith about what's happening in the world when we see the world so divisive. So I really appreciate that from my colleagues. And I want to just wish everyone a happy, peaceful Thanksgiving, to all Athenians, to the staff and my colleagues. I'll be watching from afar, but I won't be here for the next couple of meetings while I go focus in on a new life and refresh and find some resilience by holding on to a little baby grandson that was just born a couple of weeks ago. So,
Congratulations.
thank you. Ramo.
Rainbow.
Yeah.
Okay, Rainbow.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to publicly apologize to my reference about the devil last month. I know I sent out an email to my colleagues and to the assistant interim manager, and I apologize. I don't think there's no devils around here. But I wanted to say that publicly because I do think that it's just the time and the atmosphere that we got to work together. And I don't know if you may have received a letter from the Unitarian Church about their vigil tonight. Well, someone sent them a box of ammunition about a week ago. And it was the same day that we had Justice Fest, but we went on and had Justice Fest. So it really is a time that the petty differences we need to set aside, because there's some folk out there that got some serious problems. And I think that everybody around this rail wants to do the right thing, but how do we do that? And I'm really, I listened to Jesse and his allegories, and the only thing I can say that even, I was, 2 Chronicles 7:14, that's how I make it. 2 Chronicles, I'm not even going to go here preaching, but 2 Chronicles 7:14, if you haven't picked your Bible up, that'll be an excuse. But we're in some difficult times, and we can play a major role with this commission, major. And even though Jesse's leaving, he still plays a major role in some of the decision-making too. But I hope we get a better spirit. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you. I wanted to also say I support ranked choice voting also. I think what you need to do, though, is make sure everybody understands around this circle what it is. Get them the video. But yes, okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right. My spirit is going to make me make a motion to adjourn.
All of it?
Aye.
All right. What am I supposed to do?